What's going on, fam? You are locked into other people's business. The name of the show today is Kamala begging it again, but there's lots of other things we're talking about. I have been online daily and it's techie. So let's get the show started with a video clip. I'll roll it. We'll talk about it. I'll roll it. We'll talk about it. I'll roll it. We'll talk about it. We'll end it. You'll leave a comment in the comment section and you'll be back for the next show. Let's go.
Raising more than 1.5 billion US dollars during her failed election campaign and ending up with $20 million in debt, it seems Kamala Harris is desperate for more cash because the vice president is still reportedly pumping Democrat donors for money weeks after the election loss. Joining us now is journalist, writer and co-founder.
That's wild. How can she be begging it again? If I'm not mistaken, she made like 1.2 billion. Like, it was ridiculous. The moment she said, you know what, I'm running, I think Beyonce was first, running behind her, I'm supporting her, I'm endorsing her, I believe the correct word is, and the money was just rolling in. I believe they might be like 20 million debt, which is crazy. To have raised 1.2 billion and be 20 in debt is madness.
Founder of the Base Politics podcast, Brad Palumbo. Brad, good to see you. Look, either the Democrats have no idea how to manage money or can't read the room. I suspect both at this point. But how bad of a look is this?
It's pathetic and insulting. I mean, you blew $1 billion, including on celebrity and
billion, 100 million, and still begging. That's the thing with the Democrat Party. It's expensive to run with all their schemes and all of their programs. It's expensive to run it, which is a lot of the time why the Republican Party is very concerned about them winning, because they feel like we can't afford to spend more money. Now, bear in mind, that's where the rich get richer and the poor get poorer. But, you know how the thing's set already.
Endorsements and building six-figure podcast sets to be built up for an hour interview and then torn down. And yet you have the audacity come to hardworking Americans who can barely afford to buy groceries, many of them, because in part due to the Biden-Harris administration's policies. And say
that reminds me of Oprah Winfrey and The Rock had a foundation they were running. The Rock must be close to a billionaire, and I know for a fact Oprah Winfrey is a billionaire, but they're asking us for money to help them. And I think people are just tired. When we was back in the day when we weren't really privy to what was going on, and it was all like, you know what, people are in need, let me help. I'm sure there was more money going into charities, but now the price of milk and the price of eggs, it's like, asking me for what, bruv?
Give us more money. We squandered it all. Now we're millions in debt. They should hang their heads in shame. But also, any American, I mean, they send these fundraising emails because they work, right? And any American who is actually still giving these people money needs to get their head checked, because you could be sending malaria.
I'm not doing it, bro. I think there was a time where you could have made a lot of money just begging. Bear in mind, like, busking has become a bit more cool, seeing people on the road playing instrument, having talents. There's a bit more of a love for it than it ever was before. But just your average homeless person just begging for money on the road, it's rough for them these days. Anyway, let me skip forward to see what this guy's on about the same thing. Hang on a minute.
For Kamala Harris was widely credited for changing the course of the election.
You took a big swing, and thank God you hit that ball out, because
it could have gone very badly.
It could have gone very, very badly.
Still go badly.
Well, listen, I don't know. I mean, it seems to be going pretty well right now, but
this guy was a heartthrob back in the day, boy. I'm sure the older women still love George, but they used to be in love with man like George Clooney back in the day.
For the Democrats, Kamala Harris, of course, was trounced in the polls, but Brad Clooney is now complaining.
George
Obama,
Clooney,
who sort of manipulated him into doing the dirty work on his behalf, has now left him to take most of the blame for the election loss.
Yeah, I mean, that take aged like milk, obviously. We don't know how Biden would have.
George Clooney reportedly furious at Obama for manipulating him into ousting Biden and facing backlash for Harris's failure. I don't know no one that's blaming George Clooney for Harris failing. I don't know anyone that's blaming George Clooney for anything about Obama. Maybe this is something that happened behind closed doors. Maybe this is something that we don't know about. But the most of the people that I'm looking at that are crazy for backing Harris is like all these rappers, all of these R&B singers, because it's a known fact that when the Democratic Party are running, they just assume that they've got the black vote. You got, a couple of years ago, Joe Biden was running and he was saying, if you don't vote for Biden, then you're not black. He had the audacity to actually say this. Not only did he say it, but he said it on the Black Show. I believe it was on the Breakfast Club. So it's been the general consensus that if you're black, you just vote Democrat. When I personally believe that if you're voting, you should be voting for who has your best interests at heart. A lot of people complain about president-elects, royal family, people that are in government not having that much love for black people. But I think whether you're red or whether you're blue or whether you're royalty or whether you're Rockefeller or whether, no matter what extremely wealthy person you are, you don't really have our best interests at heart anyway. So my thing is, find out who has your best interests are at heart and vote for them. Who cares what party they represent?
But it is kind of hard to imagine he could have done that much worse than Kamala Harris. I mean, this is a historic loss. It is kind of sad in a sense that Obama and other members of the Democratic elite didn't have the courage to say publicly, yes, Joe needs to step down, and instead they outsourced that dirty work to a celebrity actor. But it did need to be said.
Yeah, I didn't even know it. Julia Roberts' mum, I believe, used to babysit Martin Luther King, which a lot of people are not going to like me saying this, but for part of his life, for part of his political life, was definitely on that sellout train again. I believe that later on in life, he started rocking with Malcolm and things started to change, but he definitely would have been rocking with Kamala Harris had he been here today. Let me skip forward a little bit. Yeah, let's have a look. See here.
Pardon his son, Hunter.
I think I would pardon my child.
There we go.
Is still bitter from Trump's victory at The View. Have thought of quite a novel idea, I'll say. I'll let them explain it.
Should Biden pardon his son?
Yes. Biden should definitely pardon his son. Anyhow, my son is on a chopping block. I'm definitely gonna pardon him. It's not even a question. Because you gotta stand up for your family. It's not a debate. I'm not having a conversation about it. If he's doing any kind of time, I'm definitely gonna pardon him.
Hunter.
I think I would pardon my child. I don't even have kids. I'd bury a body for my child. We just saw Donald Trump. His indictments go away because he's in power.
One of the issues that I have is when you look at the charges that Hunter Biden was indicted on, less than 0.09% of the population is are indicted on that charge. And so it's basically close to zero. So
for me, it's not really the issue of him pardoning his son. For me, it's the issue of him acting like they are the type of family that are above board. There's going to be no exceptions when it comes to us. There's no exceptions when it comes to everyone. Everyone has to follow the rules. And then you come out and you do this. This is expected. I would expect any dad to take care of their child. But I think the spiel that you have beforehand is what makes people frustrated now, because I don't think there's a dad in the world or a mum in the world that would have the ability to prevent their child from spending long bids in prison and being able to change it for him. By the way, that video of Hunter Biden in the dope house with the big rock on the scale was absolutely crazy, and I'm very interested to find out what was in those briefcases, but we'll probably never find out. Anyhow, moving on to the next subject, I find that a lot of people were really upset because
I think that
I found a lot of people were really upset for more reasons than they're letting on. So let's let this next video roll. This is the Native Land Podcast. Make sure you go over there, like, subscribe, follow them, tell them that the people from other people's business sent you over there. Let's see what they got to say, and then I'll drop my comments, throughout, and my main comment after.
I feel the obligation. I feel frustrated, honestly, with myself, because I spent so much time over the last couple of weeks just focusing on the half that I hate right now, like the half of the country that I despise.
I think that's such a heavy word to use. I understand you being frustrated that your party didn't win. I understand you being frustrated that you're going to have to deal with Donald Trump again for another 4 years. It's only 4 years. He can't serve 8. It's not like certain countries where you kind of have a dictatorship where you just run. Putin has been running over there for, I don't know how long. You know what I'm saying? Kim Jong-un's been running North Korea for I don't know how long. Trump's only going to be there for 4 years. Right, so the crying and the tears, by the time you really start to get over it, it will be over. My thing is, he's there. Give him a chance. Let's see what will happen. Because, no matter what anyone says, we made a mistake with Obama. The only people that I know that really benefited from Obama being there was the gay community. They're the ones that gained most of the power. We had a lot of hopes, we had a lot of dreams, but none of them things came to fruition. Yes, we can change the world, never happened. And it was pretty much downhill for us when he was president.
And I'm frustrated about that because you don't get understanding through frustration and hate. And I think that what I feel guilty about is knowing that there's an obligation to a whole other half, of the country, and feeling like there has to be a conversation, a come to Jesus, as they say, with so many people, because we are really not on the same page. And
there has to be some type of moment where we come together. You know what I mean? But as I said, I feel like we should be coming together with whatever party has. This shouldn't be difficult. A lot of people are married to what their parents and their grandparents and their parents did before them, but they didn't have the knowledge that we'd have. They didn't have the understanding that we have. You have to go with who cares about you. You're not married to any party. You're not married to any system. You are married to you got to be a bit selfish when it comes to voting in the future. You got to be, because in the past we voted for so many people that have just let us down.
I'm at a loss at this point for how to get there.
Watch here as Kerry Kennedy essentially disowns her own brother. This is gross.
I'm outraged and disgusted by my brother's gaudy and obscene embrace of Donald Trump. I completely...
The way the Kennedys talk is, I don't know what's going on with their voice. It sounds like a tape that's being... It sounds like the tape is playing over their voice, and while the tape is playing over their voice, it's being chewed up. And the same thing with her brother. I don't know if their dad spoke like that, but it's crazy. I don't even know how Arnold deals with it.
Out and separate and dissociate myself from Robert Kennedy Jr. in this flagrant and inexplicable effort to desecrate and trample and set fire tonight my father's memory.
She sounds exhausted just from that little sentence. Mash up the likes, make sure you subscribe.
Now to women so enraged by democracy that they're screaming, quite literally, at the ocean.
This is a Karen thing here. This lady right here with the orange jumper on that's got her back facing to us. That's a man over there to the left. I don't know what. I think there's a couple guys over there. Their wives Their wives probably dragged them there, bro. Their wives probably dragged them there. I'm not going to watch you make a fool of yourself. But this can't just be because someone you wanted to win didn't win. That you're now. You were a Karen whether Trump won or whether Biden won. You were always going to be a Karen.
It must feel like just banging your head against a wall.
Here's the thing. I mean, Kate's talked about how Justice Alito goes back to this 19th century and all of the criminalization of abortion after the Civil War. What Justice Alito doesn't tell you is one of the reasons why they're so...
And there it is. This is why Kamala Harris's whole run to try and become president, all she kept talking about was my body, my choice, my body, my choice, because that's really the root of why most people are upset. Let's let her talk.
Exercise to criminalize abortion is because white women, as part of this effort toward voluntary motherhood, are actually trying to exercise some control so they don't have families of disproportionate sizes, that they have families that are manageable and they're not like literally tired all the time. And so they're using contraception. Some of them are terminating pregnancies. And it means that these native-born white women are not having children in as great numbers as their immigrant and darker hued sisters. And people are literally scared in like a Tucker Carlson way that the country is changing its demographic character and it's going to be...
These countries are supposed to change. The country's supposed to change. The country's not going to stay the same way forever. America was built on immigration. You know, I believe it was the Irish there first that were at war with the British that came from outside. It's built on immigration. So more so than England, and England is a place that's very much changed when it comes to how colorful the population is. You know, I sometimes hear older white people saying, you know, England is not what it used to be. It's not the same Britain that it always was. And I don't find that to be offensive. I don't find that to be a racist statement. It's not. So much of London is owned by Arabs, so many Eastern Europeans, so many blacks, so many West Indians, so many West, Northern, Eastern Africans. It's not what it used to be. London, in my opinion, is just as much of a melting pot as New York, and I don't see it as a bad thing. Now, I think the conflict comes in when you invite more immigrants in to strengthen your vote, and I think that's when things get a bit techie.
Largely led by the children of these immigrant women or these black women. And so
it's replacement theory.
It's replacement theory.
Oh my God.
So he's literally citing 19th century replacement theory ideas to justify limiting reproductive rights today. I mean, it's straight out of the Tucker Carlson playbook.
Vice President Harris says that women shouldn't trust you on the issue of abortion because you've changed.
Yeah, that's what I believe most people are upset about. I don't believe the complaint sheet is as colorful as people are making out. I think it really does come down to the fact that Trump did get rid of Roe v. Wade, and I think it's really down to the fact that he has an issue with abortion, because if you look at everything else he's involved with, he wants to end the war with Ukraine. He wants to bring the money back to America, and the money's already up. The biggest issue is those that feel like Trump is a chauvinist, and that those that feel like he's guilty for that grape case. That's really what I think it boils down to.
Your position so many times. Therefore, why should they trust you?
Well, the reason I'm doing that vote is because the plan is, as you know, the vote is, they have abortion in the 9th month. They even have, and you can look at the governor of West Virginia, the previous governor of West Virginia, not the current governor, who's doing an excellent job, but the governor before, He said the baby will be born and we will decide what to do with the baby. In other words, we'll execute the baby. And that's why I did that, because that predominates, because they're radical. The Democrats are radical in that. And her vice presidential pick, which I think was a horrible pick, by the way, for our country, because he is really out of it. But her vice presidential pick says abortion.
A lot of the time when Trump talks, it sounds like he's chatting rubbish. It sounds like he's a complete nutcase. But a lot of the time when he talks, you come to find out that he was telling the truth.
In the 9th month is absolutely fine. He also says execution after birth. It's execution, no longer abortion, because the baby is born, is okay. And that's not okay with me, hence the vote. But what I did is something for 52 years. They've been trying to get Roe v. Wade into the states.
It's non.
Execution after birth. It's execution, no longer.
There is no state in this country where it is legal to kill a baby after it's born.
Did you see the way she looked at man? Trump never said that there was a state in the country where it was legal for a baby to be executed after birth. What he said was, there is a governor, I believe he said, I think it's of Virginia, that said that due to if a woman wants her baby to be terminated after birth, they will let the baby be born and make a decision. That's what he said. He didn't say that it was legal in any state.
Madam Vice President, I want to get your response to President Trump.
When we talk about third trimester
this the guy right here.
These are done with the consent of obviously the mother, with the consent of the physicians, more than one physician, by the way. And it's done in cases where there may be severe deformities, there may be a fetus that's non-viable. So in this particular example, if a mother is in labor, I can tell you exactly what would happen. The infant would be delivered, the infant would be kept comfortable.
This is what Trump said.
The infant would be resuscitated if that's what the mother and the family desired, and then a discussion would ensue between the physicians and the mother.
That is word for word what the man said. Now, I understand that under these circumstances, it is extreme decisions need to be made for extreme situations, but that's what he said. That's what he disagrees with. And this man said exactly what Trump quoted.
Well, as I said, you're going to hear a bunch of lies, and that's not actually a surprising fact.
So the first thing I want to say, just this kind of piggybacks off of his question, is that under President Biden, I'm a public librarian, I'm a children's librarian, and my debt was all.
Why does it matter that you're a librarian? I never understood why you got to go to school to be a librarian. So many people go to school and spend money on degrees that leave them broke after school. So many people. I know so many people with degrees that's hungry right now.
All forgiven under President Biden.
Okay.
For my undergraduate, where I went to the Howard University, and also my graduate, my master's, which I went here to the University of Washington. So I just want to say that the public debt relief, it is real. You're looking at someone who has received it, as well as over 1 million people who have. But I know that it has made an incredible difference in my life.
He's about to own her.
I guess but that's just to say, shout out to that. My question though, for you, is what is your stance around abortion?
Okay.
Yeah, it is, because let me just preface this by saying I am 51 years old, okay?
Oh, she look good for 51 though. She look good for 51 though.
I have 2 beautiful children. I have a 14-year-old and a 6-year-old that I had at 44. Good. My husband and I, after we had our son, we tried for a long time to have a second baby. Mm-hmm. And when I was finally able to have another, like to get pregnant again, that child was diagnosed with holoprosencephaly, a lobar holoprosencephaly, meaning that where the fetal brain is supposed to look like a butterfly, her brain looked like a horseshoe. Okay, so I had an abortion at 17 weeks, and I know.
See, I think the mistake that she made in this debate, we've not watched the whole thing yet, but I think that the mistake that she's made is she's made it very personal to begin with, and you can see she's very animated. She's very I don't want to say aggressive. I don't want to say angry black woman, but she's giving me a bit aggressive.
That the doctors told me if I was able to carry her to term, she would probably be stillborn or only live for a few minutes or a few days at that. I made the choice to terminate that pregnancy. And it infuriates me that there are women and girls all around this nation who are in the same position that I found myself in, or these are women or girls who have...
So this is post-election. And I didn't realize this was post-election, but this is why this is all she talked about. That it was going to be difficult for her to win when most of her voters really only cared about one thing. Because once you've given them the one thing, there's so many other issues that we need to deal with.
Been raped, who have been molested by family members, and they are being forced because of their zip code to carry these pregnancies to term. So I want to know, how does this keep America great? Okay. If you're forcing girls and women to have pregnancies that they either do not want.
Are you going to let me answer the question? My gosh, you're still going with this question. Let me answer the question.
Cannot afford, or in my case, you are having children that are born with all kinds of abnormalities.
Okay, great question. Let me start with the first one. I do not think that loan forgiveness is fair to everybody. Because what about the people like myself, which my graduate degree I paid off? Where's my money at? A lot of these other people that worked while they were in college to pay a debt that they agreed to assume, and they don't get any benefit from
I'm a public librarian, sir.
I'm just saying.
I work for the people. Me and Kamala have only, me and Kamala have only had one. We've only had one.
You're not the same as Kamala. What do you mean, me and Kamala? You're a librarian, bruv. You give out books at a place that fewer and you are working at a job that will soon be obsolete. You do not work at a job that cannot be replaced by them robots that Elon Musk is making. So you need to relax, but I'm a librarian. Me and Kamala.
One client that we've ever worked for, and that's the people.
Okay, so what I'm saying is that for all the people that have worked hard, just like you did, but paid their loan off, what do they get in return?
I was paying my loans?
No, I'm saying that they paid it off. They paid it off. What do they get in return? They got screwed.
Cool. No, I want to hear what you have to say about abortion, though.
No. Don't work like that. This ain't your show. You made a statement, you had a question. I'm responding to your statement. I'm obliterating your initial statement. Your loans got exonerated or paid off, or whatever word you want to use. You got a break from money that you spent. You was given a loan to pay for your school. You paid for your school. You got a degree that's not paying you back enough money to pay off your loan. So the government paid back your loan when really they're probably going to use taxpayer dollars to siphon that out. That's probably what's going to happen.
You asked me two questions.
Yeah.
I'm gonna get to that point.
No, I didn't ask that first one.
Well, you made a statement.
I made a statement. Okay, my second one was a question.
I want to rebut your statement, and then I'm gonna get to the board. I got plenty of time. Okay?
All right.
So the first portion is that I don't think it's right that they just completely are gonna forgive, and they say.
I would hate to work with a woman like this. Like, why are you so loud? Why are you talking to me like that? This is part of the issue. Like, where is the respect? Yes, we're having a conversation, but this is my platform. I got the table, I got the microphone. You're using my microphone. You're disrespecting me on the microphone that I provided you to talk. Why? We're just having a conversation.
They're going to forgive. That's going to go on the taxpayer dollar. They didn't really forgive you. They're going to assume that debt that the taxpayer had to pay for.
I'm a public librarian.
So none of that is free.
I'm a librarian.
I hear what you're saying, but at the end of the day, it's not fair to do that. They're
I'm a librarian.
Buying votes by saying they're going to forgive your student loans.
I'm a librarian.
Ma'am, that's not an argument.
No, it's the fact. I'm a librarian.
What?
Well, they're good for you.
Yeah, great.
Thank you for your service.
Not just good for me.
Okay, can we continue the conversation?
It's great. It's great for community.
Now, listen. They only did that to buy votes. That's all they did.
I'm a librarian.
They want to make sure that young people are enthusiastic about voting for them, so they go, we're going to forgive you of this, we're going to forgive you of that. It's not good for the national debt.
She's crazy. She's clearly crazy. Look at this guy in the back. Look at the people in the back listening to what she's saying. It's a shame too, man, because she's a beautiful sister. She's rocking a short hair. You know, once you cut off all your hair, you know, you're showing that I could really be a problem for these girls because I took off all my hair. And she's clearly a mad woman. Why you keep saying you're a librarian for? We're having a conversation about abortion. You keep telling me you're a librarian. Are you going to give me a book about baby childbirth?
It's not good for the country.
The national
and
debt.
It's not fair. It's
that
not,
Trump ran up. Okay. I'm a librarian though, but go ahead.
What?
I'm like, are you trolling me?
Yeah,
Or you
I'm
like
a
really
librarian.
think that I'm a librarian in this argument?
Yeah.
Okay, that's
Okay.
interesting. Let me move to
He was
the
about to say
abortion.
that's insane.
Abortion is essentially murder. Do you agree with that?
No, I do not.
Or killing of the unborn.
No,
do you agree
I
with
do
that?
not. I don't.
Well, what is it called? What are you doing to the baby inside of you?
It's not a baby, it's a fetus.
A fetus is a human. A fetus is a baby.
A fetus is a human.
It is a small child.
It's a fetus. It's a
You
fetus
can
is
say
not
whatever
it's
you
not
want to say. You have 2 children already, right?
I do.
You didn't think it was just a fetus when you wanted the children, correct? They weren't just a fetus. There was a gender reveal. There was an excitement.
They were.
See, here's the one issue I have with these kind of seminars when you pull up to a college and you just talk to people. You have an argument that you've prepared. You have an argument that you're well rooted in. This is a conversation that you're prepared to have. And although definitely she asked the question, these are talking points that are going through on throughout the whole election. So it's kind of unfair. I respect the fact that he's letting her talk. He's not trying to completely dominate the conversation. But this is something that's done a lot for content when someone who has a lot of information on a certain topic goes to an area with people who are less grounded in that conversation and kind of dominates them.
There was a point in the pregnancy when they were fetuses.
Right. There's a pregnancy test that you were excited about. I'm assuming that you and your husband had both children. If not, whoever you had the children with, you were excited. From the time that conception happened to the time that those babies were birthed, you were excited and you believed that they meant something from start to finish.
He ain't lying though. He's cooking her. He's not lying.
Right, am I wrong? I have 2 children. They meant something to me ever since I found out that my wife was pregnant. They meant something to me and they have value.
Okay.
Now, I do understand the argument that if your child is deformed, that's a separate argument. However, I believe that you should have the baby and take it to term because not every single situation.
That is your belief.
That's fine.
And
you have a belief too.
And I do.
We disagree.
But what I'm saying, yeah, we can disagree on that. But what I'm saying is your beliefs then should not mandate what other people do with.
How the hell can his belief mandate anything? The problem is this black woman that has a problem agreeing to disagree. That's where the issue comes in because we both have opinions. That's what the beauty of Speaker's Corner is. That's what the beauty of a debate and not having an argument is. This woman clearly wants to have an argument. She's coming in all black. She's probably wearing all black Air Force Ones and she's coming to go to war when my man is just trying to open a forum for steel to sharpen steel, and I think it's a good thing to do. It's necessary.
You know,
there is no law in America.
Voting.
There is no law in America that mandates what men do with their bodies.
Yes, it is.
What law is that, sir?
The draft.
The draft.
Yes.
Yes. The draft. He said it. The draft. I ain't got no control over my body once I'm a certain age. If they're just going to pick me up and send me to war or tell me that if I don't go to war, they're going to send me to prison. So, yeah.
Okay.
Therefore, the government can control whether or not, well, I'm too old to go to the draft, but some of these young people that are on college campus, the government can tell you, we're going to war, and you're going to fight, and you're going to die for this country.
Okay.
They have no choice. They control the male body through the government.
But there is no law where the government gets to determine whether or not the contents of your uterus.
Let's put it in this perspective. Is it fair to your husband, just say the baby was healthy? The perspective of the baby was healthy. Because medical doctors make mistakes all the time. They can say that the baby's going to...
You can look in this woman's face, right? You can't see the arrow that I'm putting on her head, but you can look in this woman's face and see that she's not really receiving what man's saying. She is simply waiting for her turn to talk, and that's not a good way to have a conversation, right? I believe the best way to have a conversation is to enter a conversation with a cup that's half full. Obviously, you're going to have your opinion, but I don't think you should be closed off to the point that you could learn something and leave with more than you came with. And I don't think that's what this woman wants to do.
Out abnormal or something like that, and the baby can be born normal. It's fine. They make mistakes. So you took a chance on them being right.
No, sir, there was no chance.
Okay, you took a chance on them being
There
right.
was amniocentesis. There was all kinds of. It wasn't a chance.
You took a chance.
There
on
wasn't
them
a
being
chance,
wrong.
sir. There wasn't a chance.
Okay,
there were all kinds of scans. There was there wasn't a chance.
It's still a chance.
It wasn't a chance. It was not a chance.
Let's move on. So you and your husband, just say the baby was reported to
The
be
fetus.
healthy.
Mm-hmm.
The baby.
The fetus.
Fetus.
Okay.
All of us were fetuses.
At one point,
Okay.
yes, that's a scientific
So-
fact, including that dog was a fetus at one point. Yes, you know
Okay.
it was a canine fetus. Yes.
Okay.
So what's the point?
What I'm saying is that it's still like the value doesn't change.
What did you come here for? Like, if you were having a bad day, you should have just told me, listen, brother, I see you sitting here with this Trump hat. It's really getting under my skin. I just want to talk at you for a few seconds. Or I can tell you to just go about your business and go and tell someone else off, because you're really not receptive to this man's perspective.
Because the
That
baby
right.
is born or not. The
That
baby
right.
should have the exact same value in the womb
That is-
as the baby does when it's born.
But this is what I'm
That
saying,
is a
though.
fact. Now, let's put it into perspective. Your husband and you both are going to have a healthy baby. Is it fair to your husband that just say that you don't want the baby, that you can go and end the baby's life and your husband has no say?
It is my body.
That fair?
It is
but
my
that
body.
is his baby too.
But it's in my body.
Yeah, but it's still his baby.
It's in
his DNA is in your
my
body.
Body.
That baby has his DNA in your body.
Period. It's
Is
in my,
that not fair?
You know what? I was just at the African American History.
No, let me see something really quick. Let me have a look at something real quick.
Museum in D.C. No, and I'm gonna get to my point here. And I'm reading about the enslaved.
She's not wearing a ring. No one's gonna put up with that. She's not wearing a ring. She's not married no more. She's not wearing a ring. She's not in a relationship no more. He's alone. No one's dealing with that. How you gonna tell the man you're just gonna do what you want with his child? She's not wearing a ring.
In the Low Country, that's where my people are from, the Geechee Gullah part of South Carolina.
Okay.
And I'm reading
She ain't
about
wearing
like
no
what
ring.
their lives were like. These are people that had no autonomy and no agency over their body, whether they were raped, whether their children were sold from them. What I'm telling you is, it is my body. It is not my husband's body. It is not.
The
It
baby
is not
in
the
you
rapist's
is not
baby.
your body.
No, it is my body.
But
it cannot live outside of my body. It is a part of my body.
I think it's like 4% of pregnancies that come from rape, and I think it's in that same 4% of babies that are born with that level of deformity. Because if your baby has, other issues, cleft lip, mentally challenged, like I would still have the U. So like this extreme level of difficulty in this pregnancy is not normal. Even the what her child was diagnosed with, most people don't know what that is.
The fetus. I'm talking about
That
the fetus.
argument doesn't work because when the
fetus
baby
is
is
a
born, it
part
still can't
of
live without
my
you.
body.
Can the baby, when it's born, live without you?
The baby, yes.
No, it cannot.
Yes, it can.
How's
Other
the
people
baby
can
gonna
take care
live?
of the baby. They can give the baby formula. They can do all of that.
Yeah, but it has to. It can't just live on its own.
Well, yeah, some adult, not necessarily me, but some adult has to care for it. See, that
It
is
has
a
to be-
porous,
No,
ridiculous
that's not
argument.
true.
What I'm saying
the
is,
baby still
up
needs
until the
you.
point of viability,
When is
the
viable?
fetus,
When is the baby viable?
You know what? I've made my point here.
No. When is the baby viable?
No.
No, you lost your point.
When is
Sir,
viability?
I've made my point.
If your point is viability, then you're going to have to change your point almost every year.
No, I'm not.
Yes, you are.
No, I'm not.
Because 50 years ago, a baby could not be born as early as they can be today with modern technology.
Okay.
So was it not viable then and it's also viable now and is now viable?
But okay,
The
so
argument, it's a moot point. The bottom line with abortion is that it's selfish.
It's a moot point.
Abortion is selfish.
So you think it was selfish?
It is selfish.
What do I owe my child that is alive then if I give birth to if I give birth to a child that does not have a
You're chatting rubbish.
the frontal part of her brain?
So if the baby is diagnosed or to have Down syndrome, should you be able to abort the baby?
No, I'm not talking about Down syndrome.
let's say Down syndrome.
I'm not, no, because
Abortion
that's
is-
easy.
if
I'm
you
talking
wanna-
about A, low bar, holoprosencephaly.
let's-
say it with me.
let's argue-
A,
let's
low
argue-
bar, holoprosencephaly.
Are you trying to make a rap now? Okay,
I can.
Yeah, I told you, man. She's not all there. She's not all there. She's not all there.
Argue
I
this point.
can. No, I'm talking about
Okay,
a child
let's-
that is not born with the HQ.
Let's agree to this.
With the frontal lobe.
Now let's agree to this.
Yes.
Let's agree to this.
I'm
if a
talking
baby
about.
let's agree
I'm
to this.
talking about catastrophic.
Can we agree
I'm
on
not
this?
talking about Down syndrome.
Let's do that. Let's
I'm not-
agree.
Okay, so yeah, so go ahead.
Let's
Talk
ag-
about a low
Can
bar
I speak?
holoprosencephaly.
Let's agree.
Go ahead.
Let's agree real quick. Let's say that every child that is born with that disability, which means
Man, don't even remember the name. Man said with that disability.
Bar holoprosencephaly.
which I haven't researched it, but let's assume that they may be still born when they're born.
Okay.
Let's just stick to that one. Every woman who has that condition can have an abortion, and no other women can have abortions. Would you agree to that?
No, I would not.
So then what are the other women doing?
I believe
So
that
you
any
get the
woman,
bump and grind and pump and sweat with no consequences. Is that what you're
Sir,
saying?
But every woman who pumps and grinds, there are women where it was forced upon them.
Okay,
it was girls
let's
where it was
eliminate. Okay,
forced
let's
upon
say
them.
that those women, we agree that they're exempt.
Yeah.
No.
But everybody else knows.
I'm in agreement with that. If you were raped, if your child is, because I keep trying to lead on a word like deformed, and I don't like that word. But if your child's born with a diagnosis that's that crippling, then I understand. If you were raped, I understand. If your life is in danger by having this child, I also understand. So he what he's saying is, I don't believe in abortion, but I'm prepared to agree with you in this area. This is what compromise is.
No.
Why?
Any woman, any girl,
for any reason,
who
can kill their
decides
baby.
That they want to have an abortion
For
should
any
be
reason.
allowed to do
That's
that.
insane.
That reason is her business.
No, it's not.
It is her business. It is not your
Let me
business.
tell
It
you
is
how-
not my business.
let me tell you how
it
you
is
can do-
her business.
Let's do some math.
Period.
Let's do
Now
some-
you know what I got to do?
Let's do
I gotta
some
go.
math.
No, because I'm a librarian. I got to go and do a librarian thing right now. So peace. Peace.
God bless you.
God bless you.
Okay, now that she's gone, let me be able to speak. So I think that abortion is selfish. Most women who are having abortions now are not due to rape and incest and none of that. That's less than 1%
I bet she's not a librarian.
of all abortions.
I said
Most
1%,
of them,
I
as
said
we
4.
all know, y'all grown. People having sex and they get pregnant and it's unwanted and they decide to have an abortion, whether they have it plan B and all this other, they have an abortion in the first trimester or whatever the case may be. That's what most abortions are. Can we agree that if you're not ready to take care of a child, you probably shouldn't be laying up with Tony, right? Can we be fair? You made a decision. Let me say that.
Here's the thing, right? And this is where it gets deep, right? A lot of women that have abortions, and we've been on this topic for a long time, but a lot of women that decide to have this procedure done, right? They are not asking the question of what happens, what do they do with my child? They're just looking at, it's my body, my choice. I've decided I don't want to have a baby. But it has to be a reason, like the government don't do anything without gaining something. You understand what I'm saying? You understand what I'm saying?
We've been very good at getting heart, lung, liver, because we know that, so I'm not going to crush that part.
Recent videos released by the Center for Medical Progress reveal Planned Parenthood's inhumane treatment of unborn children and its executives negotiating the sale of baby hearts, lungs, and livers.
And another boy.
That's what I'm talking about. That's exactly what I'm talking about.
Boy.
How did we get to this point? To understand present-day Planned Parenthood, we should understand Margaret Sanger, Planned Parenthood's founder and hero. Words like unfit and feeble-minded were used to describe not only the poor and mentally ill, but also to describe African Americans.
Margaret Sanger stated that birth control is nothing more or less than the facilitation of the process of weeding out the unfit, of preventing the birth of defectives or of those who will become defectives.
In 1921, Margaret Sanger founded the American Birth Control League. Its primary mission was to prevent uncontrolled procreation and establish a world.
This woman was a proud member of the Ku Klux Klan. Let that be known. The research is there, it's out there, she never hid it. Proud member of the Ku Klux Klan, but let me let them continue. Among other things, she was a proud member of the Klan.
Program of birth control.
She states, knowledge of birth control is essentially moral. Its general, though prudent practice, must lead to a higher individuality and ultimately to a cleaner race. Margaret Sanger stated that the most merciful thing that the large family does to one of its infant members is to kill it.
In 1939, Sanger wrote a letter to her eugenics colleague, Dr. Clarence Gamble, a member of the Birth Control Federation of America, in regards to setting up the Negro Project, a birth control clinic for African Americans.
She was speaking about
That doesn't sound like it's going to be very beneficial to the African Americans, does it?
serving what she called the Negro population. And in concluding this portion of the letter, she stated that we do not want word to go out that we want to exterminate the Negro population. And the minister is the man who can straighten out that idea if it ever occurs to any of their more rebellious members.
Sanger believed that having an African American minister on staff would ease the suspicion.
African American populations were
So this was like the first blatant sellout.
considered some of these unfit members that should be weeded out. So in this letter, she discusses having African Americans serve other African Americans so they wouldn't be aware that they were seeking to terminate them, to exterminate them by the use of birth control and negative eugenics.
Sanger was quite fond of Dr. Ernst Ruden's work, director for the Society for Racial Hygiene. He would later go on to write Nazi Germany's sterilization laws. In 1933, she published his article, Eugenic Sterilization, an Urgent Need, which promoted programs to eliminate the unfit in order to create a super race.
So there's a lot going on here, right? Not only are they taking the organs from the, because here's the thing. Obviously, when you go under, you're not conscious. That's what go under means. So you don't know what happens. You're in such, you're so caught up in the fact that you don't want this. You don't want to be a part of this, and some people just don't want the baby. It's nothing to do with how sick they. I just don't want it. This is just. I took too long to take the morning after pill. We didn't want to have contraception. Skin to skin was the move that we was into. And this is like the last type of condom that I can use to be, you know, quite frank, right? But you went because you just want this out of you. You're not asking yourself what happens to it once they take it from me.
In the late 1930s and 40s, knowledge of Nazi atrocities made words like eugenics and population control unpopular in America. So in 1942, to distance itself in name, Margaret Sanger's American Birth Control League became Planned Parenthood. They weren't just being established in the U.S., it was global. A grim fact in American history was the forced sterilization of women in Puerto Rico. In 1936, sterilization programs spearheaded by the International Planned Parenthood Federation, with funding from the U.S. government, sterilized 1/3 of Puerto Rican women by 1968.
Wow. That is horrifying. There's always an agenda. It's never just what you want. There's always a bigger picture. And I think because, you know, it's fair to say that a lot of women get caught up in emotions. I think that because you're so caught up in how you feel, you're just not looking at the bigger picture, man.
Making it the highest proportion of childbearing age persons sterilized in the world. And today,
Planned Parenthood facilities are generally located in low-income areas, which are heavily populated with minorities.
Same
and
thing.
a lot of times they seek to reach those minorities to help them with reproductive rights, they say, with birth control and largely abortion.
independent studies have concluded that nearly 80% of Planned Parenthood facilities are set up in minority communities.
They're still doing the job that she intended. They're still doing the job that she intended. A video that we watched earlier on when there was a young lady saying that people were concerned about the fact that, you know, white families were going through this as well. I don't think that was expected when this Planned Parenthood was created. But the job at its inception was to bring down black and undesirable childbirth, which is crazy for me to even say that out of my mouth. And it's still working. It's still working.
It's no wonder abortion is the leading cause of death among African Americans, higher than all other causes combined.
I'm very...
Wow. Wow. That's wild. That's wild. Wow. Yeah, man, it's a technical piece, because I do, as I said multiple times before during that video, I understand where the woman's coming from. I'm just not in 100% agreement. Anyway, another part that another addition to Trump's party is man like Kash Patel. Now, Trump is trying to get him in. I believe there's a voting system. I don't believe he can just say, I want him to run the Fed, and he'll run the Fed. But there's an Indian brother in the States who actually was a public defendant. His rise to fame is a really dope story. But let me let you hear what Kash Patel has to say, and we'll talk about him anymore. But we'll talk about him in a bit. This is the guy that Trump wants to run the Fed.
But no prosecutor would bring this case. I was in the National Security Division at the time. I was doing the discovery for Benghazi, where we found her freaking email. And then they took that investigation away from us. And then it became the Clinton investigation, right? That everybody now knows about. I was like, who is this guy talking about? And then I didn't think it would happen, but it did. Came back full circle with the Biden administration, or the Biden prosecution of classified docs. And they let the guy off the hook. And they just said, doesn't matter. So we'll prosecute a guy who has a legal justification to have those documents because we don't care. It's Trump. And we won't prosecute the sitting president because you've made up a new legal standard that applies to exonerate him and to not even charge him. That is the two-tier system of justice.
Yeah, that's his one of his arguments right there. Is something called the two-tier justice system. That's his book right there, Government Gangsters. But basically what he's saying is there's different laws from the wealthy than there is from the poor. And these are the kind of things that I think make him a very interesting candidate to be the next, I don't know, top guy at the FBI.
Steroids. And now you're talking about the two guys who are running against, now they're not, but two guys who were then running against each other for the presidency of the United States.
Where else is this happening?
Man. Everywhere, unfortunately. So we saw it every day on people who are indigent and charged with serious offenses, who were treated differently than folks who were, you know, high-level private sector individuals. I mean, if you go to the fraud cases out of Wall Street or whatever, you know, these guys get to go to Club Fed for, you know, a couple years, 10 years, whatever. But the poor guy down at the end of the ladder, he's going away for 40.
Yeah.
You know, you don't need to be a legal expert to have seen this over the years. And the classified documents case, that's just, you can apply what they did there out to what they're doing to certain Jan 6 defendants. And I always say this about Jan 6. Some people committed some pretty violent stuff. They need to go away. But when you're bringing in the 65-year-old grandmother who doesn't have any priors and she's held without bond for years to force pleas so that you can weaponize and politicize the two-tier system of justice even further, so that Christopher Wray, the FBI director, can go to Congress and lie and say domestic terrorism prosecutions are on the rise because they classified everything Jan 6 as domestic terrorism. And so that he can say, him and Merrick Garland can say, oh, we've got 1,000 people under investigation. This insurrection. Well, this insurrection that nobody was ever charged for. But it's a political narrative, and it's tough to defeat. It sounds pretty lethal, you know, storming of this, hijacking of that, insurrection. But when you look at some of the people involved, their lives have been destroyed by the Justice Department because of a political vendetta they want to enact through the justice system to take out Trump. But no reason.
Processing how we feel about this, but something that while we're paying so much attention to what's happening at the federal level, I do want to point out something happening at the local level, and that is this idea of having biblical curriculum taught in schools. This was in the news this week because in Texas, the Texas State Board of Education advanced a Bible-infused curriculum that will be optional for schools to weigh in, but there is a financial incentive for schools to start teaching biblical-based curriculum. This comes on the heels, I don't want people to think Texas is alone, this comes on the heels of Oklahoma and Louisiana, currently litigating a state law requiring public classrooms to display the 10 Commandments. This is a move that they're also pushing in Texas as well. Multiple legal issues here, aside from the violation of separation in church and states. There are also political issues. This is why there is no off-year election cycles.
Yo, 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 yo. Can you hear me now? Yo, 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 yo. It sounds like I'm hearing myself though. Through your phone. Okay. Where did you stop hearing me? Kash Patel. From the beginning or the end? Okay. All right, no problem. All right. Appreciate you. Love. Bye. All right, guys, I apologize. My hand must have slipped, and apparently you lot never heard about man like Kash Patel. So we're going to go back to Kash Patel. I'm going to run this show back just a few steps.
No prosecutor would bring this case. I was in the National Security Division at the time. I was doing the discovery for Benghazi, where we found her freaking email. And then they took that investigation away from us, and then it became the Clinton investigation, right? That everybody knows about. I was like, who's this guy talking about? And then I didn't think it would happen, but it did. Came back full circle with the Biden administration, the Biden prosecution classified docs. And they let the guy off the hook. And they just said doesn't matter. So we'll prosecute a guy who has a legal justification to have those documents because we don't care. It's Trump. And we won't prosecute the sitting president because you've made up a new legal standard that applies to exonerate him and to not even charge him. That is the two-tier system of justice on steroids. And now you're talking about the two guys who are running against, now they're not, but two guys who were then running against each other for the presidency of the United States.
Where else is this happening?
Man. Everywhere. Unfortunately. So we saw it every day on people who were indigent and charged with serious offenses who were treated differently than folks who were, high-level private sector individuals. I mean, if you go to the fraud cases out of Wall Street or whatever, these guys get to go to Club Fed for, a couple years, 10 years, whatever. But the poor guy down at the end of the ladder, he's going away for 40.
Yeah.
You don't need to be a legal expert to have seen this over the years. And the classified documents case, that's just, you can apply what they did there out to what they're doing to certain Jan 6 defendants. And I always say this about Jan 6. Some people committed some pretty violent stuff. They need to go away. But when you're bringing in the 65-year-old grandmother who doesn't have any priors and she's held without bond for years to force pleas so that you can weaponize and politicize the two-tier system of justice even further so that Christopher Wray, the FBI director, can go to Congress and lie and say domestic terrorism prosecutions are on the rise because they classified everything Jan 6 as domestic terrorism. And so that he can say, him and Merrick Garland can say, oh, we've got 1,000 people under investigation for this insurrection. Well, this insurrection that nobody was ever charged for. But it's a political narrative, and it's tough to defeat. It sounds pretty lethal, storming of this, hijacking of that, insurrection. But when you look at some of the people involved, their lives have been destroyed by the Justice Department because of a political vendetta they want to enact through the justice system to take out Trump.
Is there still echo?
But no reasonable prosecutor would bring this case. I was in the National Security Division at the time. I was doing the discovery for Benghazi, where we found her freaking email. And then they took that investigation away from us, and then it became the Clinton investigation, right? That everybody knows about. I was like, who's this guy talking about? And then I didn't think it would happen, but it did. Came back full circle with the Biden administration, the Biden prosecution classified docs.
I'm going to have to stop the stream.
At the time. I was doing the discovery of Benghazi, so you could just So what you could do for the rest of the stream, bro, is you could just pause it for a moment while we just sort it quickly.
How do I pause it?
Well, you basically would just, you typically would type in the chat, be like, I'm just trying to fix some sound quickly, give me two minutes.
Or now if his mic is working, he just talks.
It's not working. It's looping.
Oh, what did I just do?
Even his mic without.
What did I just do?
No clips.
Okay.
He should not play the clips, he should just talk.
Oh, the show is about the clips though.
I know, but like if he just wraps it up early, mic's down. Because he's got a good length, like we've learned a lot from the thing, but maybe if he wraps it up early. Because now there's like all this lag in between. Hi, Lex.
Hey, you know you're live, bro. This live event chat is over. There's no longer available. Why is the live chat over?
I'm not sure how you configure it, broski.
Alright.
The stream, bro.